This is an unregulated father, and this is a well-regulated father. This father doesn't really have a choice between when something happens and how they respond to it. And this father has far more time to make an educated decision between when something happens to when they respond and how they respond. If I asked you which family do you think feels more stable and safe, do you think it's this one? Or do you think it's this one? Yeah, it's this one. So let's talk about how to get you here. So if we want to define regulation for the context that we're talking about, it's the ability to recognize an internal state, be able to name it, and then be able to choose another response than the automatic one that was served up to us by our bodies. So in the case of something like a kid spills his cup on the bed, your ability to regulate would be your ability to stop, recognize what the situation is. Child has spilled cup. Think about what situation is. It's on bed. I told him not to have it there. Think about the long-term ramification of this. We need to clean up bed. We need to get out of bed. We need to mop it all up. But then we need to get back in bed and then go back to sleep. And then put it into the context of, does this matter in the long run? No. Did he want to spill this? No. Should I respond with anger? No. Maybe a bit of surprise and maybe a bit of after the fact being like, how can we learn from this and not bring water into bed? But is there a need for frustration and anger? No. And that's how a well-regulated mind would think of it. A less regulated mind would go, water spilled in bed, water in bed, bad, yell at child. Why did you do that? How could you spill this? Well, they brought it into bed and they made a mistake. But an unregulated person will do that second one, and a more well-regulated person will do the first one, or at least have time and opportunity to do the first one. So we need to figure out how to become the first guy, the person who has all that space, who has that longer fuse. There's many different ways to do this, but there's two big sides that I'd like to point out. One is lowering baseline levels of stress, so recognizing how we can downshift our body and make it so we're not walking through the world in a more stressed scenario. And number two is having a higher capacity for stress. So it's pushing our boundaries further out so that we can handle more stress. That will provide us more space, fundamentally, to be able to interact with life in a less reactive sort of way. So lowering baseline stress is not a magical key or anything like that. It's actually pretty straightforward and you probably know it. And it's kind of got two sides. It's got a physical side and then it's got an emotional side. And they're intermixed and you see them all over each other, but helping one will help the other and vice versa. So on the physiological side of it, are you doing the things that you know you probably should be doing? Are you eating within a caloric deficit or close to just the amount of calories that you need? Are you primarily eating whole foods or are you eating mainly processed foods? Are you moving? Are you meditating? All of these things help with your physical stress levels. They bring them down. These are not complicated things. You know you should be doing them. And I'm here to tell you that if you do them, it'll help you bring your base levels of stress down. We got to be doing them. That's why people say to do them all the time. It's because it makes us better. That's the physical side. There's also the emotional side, and a lot of, like I said, that's interchanged. You've got things like meditation. You've got things like actually talking about what's going on with you, meeting with friends, communicating to your spouse. There are things that we can do to work on the emotional outlets that we have. This is what friends are for. This is what therapists are for. This is how we regulate, is through speaking and through thinking and through writing. So if you're not journaling, if you don't have friend groups, you have to be pursuing these things to bring base levels of stress down. The other way is not by bringing base levels of stress down, but it's by being able to handle more stress. So if you are capable of handling more stress, like you don't struggle with handling stress the same way as someone else does, and you know these types of people, then you have a longer fuse in general. Now, this is where we're gonna get a little woo-woo, guys, but understand I'm only getting woo-woo because it works. I don't really dig the whole woo-woo esoteric bullshit that exists in this space, and most people are there to just sell you stuff. But understand that this is woo-woo, but it's only woo-woo because a lot of men don't do it. We have to learn how to actually feel. And feelings are two-sided. They have an emotional component, what we think and what's going on in our brain, but they also have a physiological component. They have something that's going on inside our bodies. And connecting those two things will expand our capacity to cope with stress. So what that means is doing something called somatic work. And somatic is just a connection of the body and the mind. A lot of men have a lot of emotion that is either completely suppressed or only expressed via body or mind. Every time we experience something that is hard and every time we are under stress, there are physical responses in our body that we, regardless of whether or not we acknowledge them, they are there. So a very first step to regulation, or expanding our capacity to regulate, would be naming and identifying where we feel something in our body. So that means, let's take me rowing right here. I'm gonna close my mind. I'm gonna say, okay, where do I feel this in my body? Well, obviously I feel the muscles in my leg as I push. From there, I also feel a bit of a tightness in my chest as I'm trying to talk and row. I feel a tightness in my shoulders as I pull here. Ooh, but I'm also noticing that I'm crunched up in my neck area. If I just let that go, ooh, I can breathe into that. I feel that a bit better. And ooh, I'm using less energy now to row. That's a bit easier. That was a somatic experience. I'm connecting my thoughts to my physiological response in my body. That's the basics of it. It's not that woo-woo. Regardless of whether we want to do it or not, like I said, we're going to be experiencing these feelings. It's just a matter of whether or not we connect the 2 points. If you want to get better at feeling your body, you can do exactly what I just did. You can do workouts where you're paying a lot more attention to every little feeling that you have. What's that mind-body connection that is there regardless? It's just whether or not you name it. So that is one way, is being more somatically aware of what's going on and making sure that we are pushing those boundaries, feeling as often as possible, as much as possible. Another thing that a lot of us men don't do super well is actually just let something exist without attempting to fix it. So expanding our emotional capacity requires that we first feel it, so we go into discomfort, and we don't escape it. We don't drink, we don't seek an outlet, we don't scroll social media, we just sit in it and we go, oh, this is really uncomfortable. And not even go, how can I fix this? You just go, oh, what am I feeling? Let's let it exist. Let's not immediately shift to tinkering with it and trying to get it out of here. Really be with it. You'll recognize that if you sit with any feeling, whether it's sadness or anger or frustration or whatever it is, you'll start to be able to sit in it longer. Does it mean you shouldn't do anything about it? No, I absolutely believe in fixing and doing things, but actually sitting in it will expand your total capacity to be in it. So what do we got to do? Well, we got to have some daily rituals that downshift us. They pull us to a place where we're simultaneously able to expand our capacity to handle stress, but also pull down our stress levels. Luckily, in today's manosphere, there's a lot of people pointing to really good things. They're kind of hip and in that you wouldn't think were actually that good, but are actually pretty good. One of those things is journaling. So when we're talking about a way to start to increase our capacity and downregulate, journaling helps our brain unpack things that are going on and forces us to really sit with them. You can think about it as like a conversation with yourself. That's what journaling does quite well. In addition to that, we can do things like breath work. Breathing is one of the few things that is both automatic and then it also is under our control and we can choose how we do it. So it regulates us in a way because it's tied to something that happens automatically that if we pay attention to and regulate on our own, we have control over our emotions to some degree. So breathing is huge ones. Breath work. You can think about sauna and cold plunge. These are intentional difficulties that expand our capacity to handle stress. There's no magic in the sauna or the cold plunge, I don't believe physically, but the psychological growth that we get by intentionally facing difficulty and then doing it anyway and then sitting in it and really feeling it grows our capacity to handle that kind of stress. It allows us to down-regulate in some amazing ways. And lastly, just a good 5-minute body scan. Some of that somatic work. Close my eyes, start at my toes. Work from my toes, try to let them relax. Oh, up to the midfoot. Great. Up to the ankle. Up to the heel. Down to the calf. Into the knee. And you just work your way through your body, feeling every little thing and trying to let it go. Trying to feel what's already there and then trying to breathe it out. These types of things will help expand our capacity to handle these stresses. It'll allow us to downshift a lot more easily than we currently do. So to go back to the beginning of the video, what is the difference between a person with a short fuse and a person with a long fuse? Well, a person with a short fuse isn't very regulated, and they need to figure out ways to regulate their body and mind. And a person with a longer fuse is more well regulated. That person with a longer fuse can make better decisions with regards to the safety and growth and overall greatness of their family than a person with a shorter fuse. So which one do you want to be? Do you want to be a shorter fuse man? Or do you want to have one of those longer fuses? It's up to you. And my money's on you want a longer fuse, because that leads to a better life overall. You walk through the world feeling better, your family feels better, and that's kind of the point of this whole Father's Guild stuff, is to make amazing men who lead amazing families full of love and strength and joy. Anywho, I'm gonna do this workout now. It's called Sloth, like Sloth from Goonies. It's hang squat clusters and running 400 meters on an interval. So 10 hang squat clusters, run 400 meters, rest, and then do that for 5 rounds. I'm gonna try to feel as I do it, each of those hang squat clusters and how hard that run is. Wish me luck.